Okay, so June 7th rolls around. Xbox showcase is already going pretty well. We had a new Fable trailer that showed off the Jack of Blades, we had a Persona 4 Revival trailer, we had a Spyro 4 trailer, and then we get the teaser for Persona 6. It was only a minute and 18 seconds, but I feel like there's enough here to start deducing what this game is going to be about, or the very least, like the overall theme of the game. So obviously, it's green. We all knew it was green. I don't think that was ever in question that Persona 6 was going to be green. And there were many interpretations on why the green would have been significant. I speculated in my concept video that it might have a digital theme to it. But now, after watching this trailer, I can't help but feel like green is meant to invoke some kind of eldritch, cosmic horror, fear of the unknown kind of vibes. At this point, from what we have from this trailer, the conclusion I've come to is that we're going to have some kind of detective agency looking into a serial killer or killers or some kind of cult that may be trying to summon or ascend to some kind of elder god status. I also have some absolute de facto proof here that something I suggested in my first Persona video is absolutely going to happen, so stick around for that, you're going to like this. So it opens up panning through this graveyard cemetery where there's so many graves, and as we get closer to the statue, there is one headstone on the left here which has some kind of floral pattern on it. I don't know if this is just an innocuous detail or if this is meant to be symbolic in reference and deep and stuff, but that's there. We then get closer to the statue which has a plaque on it which I can't find a way to make readable in any way. It may just be decorative, not have anything on it. It kind of looks like it says Persona on it, but that might just be my brain trying to like piece together a pattern. But I couldn't help but look at this statue and feel like there's something more to it. At first I was thinking maybe this is a representation of this eldritch creature that I'm convincing myself this game's about. But then I looked at it more and it just looks like a statue of a guy in some robes, some like ceremonial, almost culty robes. You can see that there's this weird like downward V partition in the middle of this statue and then another one a little bit further down. I can't help but feel like this is underneath the robes and then where the legs separate. But it feels like this is a statue that's missing a head and it's actually going to be like a representation of the leader of some kind of cult or someone that the antagonist of this game idolizes. Like in my mind, this is either the bad guy, an influence for the bad guy, or just a representation of a group the bad guy belongs to. But when you combine everything, the rain, the gnarled trees, the lightning flashes, how old and gross this statue looks, the shadow reaching towards it, what I think's going on is there is a serial killer who is either committing killings in the name of this cult or is carrying on the work of some long forgotten cult or cultist.
Hello ma'am, do you have a minute to talk about our Lord and Savior Lightning McQueen?
All with the end goal of either summoning an eldritch being or ascending to some kind of eldritch god status. In these weird cutaways, we can see what looks like a head either buried up to the neck in dirt, which kind of fits along with this graveyard cemetery scene, or because a few frames later we can see bubbles, it might be trying to insinuate that these are actually drowning victims. If you know anything about Lovecraft and eldritch stories, is there's always some tie to water. Lovecraft had a fear of the ocean and ocean life, which is what inspired the stories of like Shadow over Innsmouth and whatnot, and is what ultimately informed the description and design of some of his most iconic creatures in his universe. And because there is a serial killer killing serially, the group, the team that we play as in Persona 6 would be a detective agency. And I don't mean like the high schoolers taking on the role of an investigation team, I mean a bona fide detective agency where these kids are hired on and recruited because they have access to personas which are then used to aid the investigation into this serial killer. It's like what would happen if you mashed up something like The Sinking City or The Call of Cthulhu and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Imagine if Charles Reed from The Sinking City had like Star Platinum. Persona has had this thing of having a antagonist hiding in plain sight or being somewhat close or within arm's reach of the protagonist. Shuji Ikutsuki, Goro Akechi, Toru Adachi, those kinds of characters. And I think the trailer is hinting towards this as well. There are several sections where we we can see hands pointing to something off screen, and there's always one red hand in all of this. I believe this might be a representation that the antagonist is going to be hiding in plain sight, are going to be another ally or someone we work with in some way, someone who knows what we're up to and is taking measures to prevent that. And the red hands are meant to signify accusations being thrown, but the actual killer is the one steering blame away from him by pointing accusations elsewhere, sowing like seeds of doubt and paranoia, maybe some infighting amongst the group. Because another thing that Eldritch Horror likes to do is the fear of the unknown, enforcing paranoia, hallucinations, just making you feel like reality itself is crumbling around you. Everything you know is a lie, there is nowhere to run or turn to, everything is being corrupted. Speaking of which, we see the blue butterfly. The blue butterfly typically signals the protagonist now stepping into their fate. They're on that path that will guide them to their ultimate goal. Through Persona 5, the blue butterfly was actually Lavenza, who was there to guide Joker into saving the world. But for the Persona series at large, the blue butterfly is meant to be a representation of Philemon. Philemon is meant to be a physical manifestation and representation of the collective unconsciousness, and is one of a pair with Nyarlathotep, which makes up the source of the human soul. As I previously mentioned, Philemon's manifestation, the butterfly, is there when the game's protagonist is now on their course to saving the world. He is a guiding force for strong hearts. Where Nyarlathotep, on the other hand, is basically his opposite. If Philemon guides strong hearts, Nyarlathotep is there to corrupt and drag along weak hearts. To take someone who is downtrodden on their last legs, real low, looking for a way out or a way up, and then takes advantage of that and steers them down a dark path. He is meant to represent the darker side of the collective unconsciousness, the evil in humanity's hearts. And before someone says something, yes, Philemon can also be gold, but it has been confirmed that the blue butterfly is a manifestation of Philemon. Now, I mention this because we see the blue butterfly, as I've already said, but then it's immediately followed up by some red imagery and then a red spiderweb. And actually, looking back on it now, just before the frame of the spiderweb, there's a frame of what looks like power lines and cables and stuff that kind of reminds me of Persona 4 and where they found that one girl's body at the beginning. I can't remember her name, but you know who I mean. I'll put her up on screen. Anyway, I can't help but feel like showing the blue butterfly and then showing a spider web, a red spider web. I think this is meant to be the hint that Philemon and Nyarlathotep are going to play more of a role in this game. They might not necessarily both appear and clash. I think it might be more of a case of this serial killer is trying to summon and bring back Nyarlathotep into the human world, and then Philemon is having to step in again with a new wild card to prevent that. And then what we're seeing is a direct clash between Philemon's chosen and Nyarlathotep's chosen. Because I might be misremembering, or I might be like Mandela affecting myself into thinking this, but I'm fairly sure it's a case of Philemon and Nyarlathotep are like two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. If one dies, the other goes with it, which means the collective unconsciousness would collapse on itself and we would all just essentially become vegetables. I might need correcting on that, so if I am off, feel free to let me know in the comments, but I feel like that's why we couldn't have like an actual direct confrontation between the two. And because they're both meant to be these observers, not actually directly involving themselves with humanity, they're just meant to be watching what humanity does and how they handle things. Even one of them coming back, even if it's through no fault of their own, throws that into jeopardy, which is why the other one would have to act. I mean, could you even imagine if it gets reversed and it turns out that Philemon's the one who is either trying to come back or is like being manifested somehow, and we're the ones recruited by Nyarlathotep? Like, we're actually playing bad guys, air quotes, unquotes. I doubt that's the case, but that would be a cool twist. And before I forget, which I already have done and I'm having to put this in post, here is my de facto proof that Nyarlathotep is absolutely returning. Call it a reach, call it a stretch, it's undeniable, it's here, it's proof. Obviously, I'm joking. Backtracking a bit, there's also this like weird red line, which it has to mean something. There's no way with how much this clashes against the rest of the footage that this was not an intentional detail they want us to look at. And I know I'm not the only one who is looking at deeper meaning in this. There were people immediately after the teaser trailer aired was looking at these red lines for symbols and symbology of some kind. At one point where I was really tired and I was watching the trailer again, I thought I saw the Blue Velvet Room logo in there, but then, you know, after actually getting some sleep and caffeinating, I couldn't see see what I saw the night before. The only other thing to talk about is the sections where the words "Where are you?" appear on screen. In my mind, this is either the antagonist, our serial killer, who might actually be looking for someone specifically that he needs to kill or sacrifice in order to complete his ascension or summonation. Summonation's not a word. Summonation's not a word. Summation is, but it's nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Or it could be our protagonist or a member of our group asking, where are you? You know, where is the killer? Knowing that they may be hiding in plain sight, that their group might be compromised, or that they're just hiding in a warehouse somewhere downtown. It could even be Philemon wondering where Nyarlathotep is, or the other way round. There's so many possibilities. This trailer simultaneously gives us nothing to work with and a lot to work with. And this leads to a lot of speculation, reaching and coping, which we like on this channel. But that's all I've got to talk about today. I think we've got a lot more coming up that is either going to make or break any of these theories. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!